How do David? How are we this afternoon?
I'm alright. I'm a wee bit unhappy with this. It's like my soul tire's peeling off.
Ah, well, it happens. Let's have a look and see who's in. Oh, better sort out Facebook.
It's like my soul tire's peeling off.
Ah, well, it happens. Let's have a look and see who's in. Oh, better sort out Facebook.
It's like, sorry, I'm just switching the sound off on the YouTube. Right.
Here we go again. Right, now we're public.
Good.
I can go back to its perch. So, good afternoon. Let's have a wee look and see who's in.
Martin Boyd, Jagsman Gaming. That's a
Right,
new one.
Doug Cope, Mr. E, Aki's Mad. We've got Wee Bub.
Wee Bird that.
We've got Wolf Pet. Mark Wesley.
Eddie Wolfie, Nathan McAllister, Sandra Miller, and RC, AK Arc Office.
Rebecca.
Chris is on, Chris Wilson. I think this is all your Facebook ones jumping up now.
I see Christina Mackey's joined us on YouTube.
Right.
Right, a TV Tam's there. Right, Tam.
Eagle Rider 1. Every time I see that name, I keep picturing this guy with the old fashioned crash bonnet on a motorbike with the black leathers. You know, Eagle Rider 1 with a scarf.
No idea what you're talking about. Anyway, let's choose the first of the Facebookers in. Numbers are climbing nicely. Hi, Arthur.
What are we up to now?
Hey, 95.
Oh, can't wait to get started. Come on.
Plenty of time. Hi, Ian. Anyway, two Davies, the 23rd of the 10th, 2023.
Yes.
And we up there 100 mark yet? Aye, we're right on 101. So let's get started, David.
Right.
Fun with the Scottish councils.
Yes, Turnover Cosler, I've got written down.
Apparently the councils are not pleased at being told there's going to be a council tax freeze.
Oh dear, what a shame. Never mind.
Right. And it would appear they're all throwing their dummies at the pram, including the SNP chair of Cosler.
Yeah.
You know,
As far as I'm concerned, when Anasawa was spreading these lies about everybody's going to get a 22% hike in their council tax, Cosler should have jumped in there publicly and said, that's a load of snash. It really is.
I've really been enjoying the spin-off course from the Labour councillors and the Tory councillors saying that the freeze will be disproportionately affect poorer people. Like what?
Explain why it won't. Come on.
Well, we'll take Edinburgh, for example. A band H is 3,290 odd quid, right? And in Edinburgh, a band A is 1,229. Now, what they're saying is the freeze will disproportionately affect those in lower category housing and save those in highest category housing more. Relatively speaking, aye. But proportionately per income, then the answer to that, of course, is no.
And that's what always matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Never mind the numbers in these blooming idiot, we pretendy politicians' heads. It's actually what people earn and how much of a proportion of that the council tax is of their wage, of their income.
Correct. So saving that 4% next year, which would be about 200 quid a year, so not as much as that, but 4% a day, 1,200, David, work it out for me.
4%, 1,200, 1%, 1,200 is 1 is 12.
40, that's my conversation to put it all by.
48
quid. So the 48 quid, proportionally, to a person on 12 grand a year,
yeah,
is worth more than the couple of hundred quid that's going to be saved top of the tree.
Yeah.
And it's worth me proportionately in their pocket. So, a lot of spin, and what they're saying is capping the council tax. Now, everybody's neglecting the fact that this is, that they've said they'll fully fund this. We'll see a services cut. There's another reason why I won't see services cut. Because the Scottish Government going forward is in a budget is inflation proof under this new fiscal arrangement which was put in place earlier this year.
Yeah, and also what of the monies that Westminster were going to pay directly to the councils? What of that?
Well, that breaches a devolution settlement, but if Westminster can bypass devolution, then the agreement that they have with COSLA and the councils, the Scottish Government could just say no. Yeah, end of story.
To be honest with you, if Westminster for the next year or whatever start paying everybody's council tax, well, I just go, fine. You say we're subsidy junkies anyway, so we might as well get some of what we're accused of.
John, the truck driving legend that he is now,
says
his truck driving career is going well. He's busy, and that he's glad to be able to catch us today because he's got a day off. Thank you very much
for the 5 foot. Yes.
And I'm very pleased that your driving career is going well.
Well, just to let you all know, I paid over 600 quid to 3 food banks last week.
Oh, aye.
And there was one that was trying to get a hold of a wee lady in Kintyre near Campbellton, right? And she eventually got back to me, and I explained what we were about. She went, "Oh, that's wonderful, And I said, "Is your food bank getting used a lot?" She said, "It's dreadful. It really, really is, So I don't quite have enough to give her £200. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the end of play today, or maybe the end of play on Thursday, and see how we're splodging, see if I can get the £200 across there." Okay.
Right, yeah. So the councils are no chuffed at the council tax. Thanks to those.
Cheers.
Sorry you're late. Tell you what, because you battered in a super chat, you'll be forgiven.
Well, you don't have to go on the naughty stuff, I say, yeah. Have you lit the candle?
Aye, it's renewed.
Is it?
Aye. Democracy is dead.
Energy crisis.
Start later on. So, councils are no chuff. Papers are trying to spin it to say that those who are in the wealthiest band houses will save the most. Yes, they will, but proportion to income, no.
And that's what's important.
And as to cuts to public services, shouldn't happen as long as it's fully funded the way the Scottish Government said it will be.
Yeah. I believe that Professor Richard Murphy pinned a figure of roughly 170 million on freezing the council tax, what they would have to do in terms of funding to deal with the shortfall. He said that on the debate night because he was asked directly, "What do you think it's going to cost us?" Yeah. So
what did they say again?
170 million. Yeah.
Chunk change.
Aye, chunk change. It's in actual fact, I've got it here. Do you want me to go and get it? It's sitting along with the 600,000 that went missing for the accounts.
Thanks, Arthur. Thanks very much, Chris.
Wow. Thanks, Jags. Wow.
Right, used to watch Andy Tuck Davies on weekdays for the real news during lockdown. It was one of the best things of the day. Loving the meltdown and the Red and Blue series bringing up.
More meltdown just to come. So hang about.
I'm not quite finished with milk, but Jags, that was very, very generous of you. Thanks very much. All helps. Right, talking about money. It would appear that the Chancellor of the Exchequer is about to step back from frontline politics at some point near the general election. It's been speculated by high-ranking Tories.
Well, I won't be glad to see him go. Yeah, I won't be glad because, in actual fact, I think they could put somebody far worse in his place. He's somebody that has tried to privatise the NHS, and he's just never managed it. And now he's going to face his end like Michael Portillo did, who jumped on a train and never was seen again.
But here's the story is that he's going to lose his seat anyway, along with 7 other ministers.
Yeah.
So, rather than face the disgrace of losing the new seat because of the boundary changes, Goldham and Ashes, the new seat would be, rather than face defeat there, saying that he's going to just chuck it.
Yeah.
He's accepted the nomination at the moment. He's expected a few months out to the election to withdraw his nomination and stand down.
I wonder if he'll get his funny cloak from the House of Lords. You think?
Oh, he's definitely heading into the Lords. Thanks, Barbara. That's very generous of you.
Hang on. Do the fingers. Hello, Barbara.
Anyway, so it looks like he's bailing out.
Yes.
And we're expecting to hear many of these Tory ministers bailing out.
What about the Minister for Public Toilets? Is he going as well?
There isn't any public toilets left, for Christ's sake. Anyway, that's councils. So it just shows you, this lot are going to take to the House. Some of them will end up in the Lords. And they'll get away with the crimes they've committed. The crimes against humanity.
Yes.
The ongoing poverty that they've created in the UK. The theft of billions through the pandemic.
Yeah.
They're just going to walk off into the sunset.
What they've done to people that are like hanging on with their fingernails, people that are disabled and all the rest of it. It's dreadful. It's ridiculous. It really is. And Jeremy Hunt, seriously, I thought he was going to have a big beaming face the day that he managed to privatise the National Health Service, because he actually wrote a book along with three other people. He wrote that book on privatising the NHS.
Right.
It was back in 2006
or 7 it was.
Was it?
Aye, and that started the ball rolling in the 2012 Health and Social Care Act doing that roadshow.
Yeah.
Which opened up the markets even further than what Tony Blair dared to do.
Yeah, well, effectively what he's done is he's made the English NHS lame. It cannot cope with what's been done to it. And Labour are not going to fix it because Labour don't understand what the problem is. They really don't.
No, but Starmer's already told us that the way to sort out the NHS is to further privatise it or involve more in the private sector.
Yeah.
Which makes him no different to Jeremy Hunt.
We'll get to him in a minute. All right, okay.
Oh, we'll get to him shortly.
May I suggest, lads and lasses, that we give Keir Starmer a new nickname? Can we call him Wobbly Gob? I think Wobbly Gob suits him perfectly.
Stupid.
No, Wobbly Gob, because he says something and then he goes back on it, and then he says something and he goes back on it.
Anyway, that's true. But hey, let's move on. Maybe Stockholm starts to receive refugees again.
Yeah.
Last week, the two, a bus of 35 went on, and a further 49 were scheduled to join the Baby Stockholm on Friday.
Yeah. Now, forgive me for this, but if I was put on that boat or that barge or that prison barge, I'd be wanting real confirmed proof that there wasn't any pathogens in the water tanks left. I would be wanting to see everything written down saying that it's been totally cleaned out and that no pathogens exist, because that was Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease, a killer. Yeah?
Yep.
So, anyway. But see the thing with the refugees. We saw the news last week that the Democratic Republic of Congo are picking a fight, as they usually do, with Rwanda. If these people had ended up on a plane and sent to Rwanda, and that thing erupted into a war between those two countries, can you imagine the humanitarian crisis that would have caused?
Well, it's an ongoing conflict. The Democratic Republic of Congo is I'll get that one up in a second, a Democratic Republic of Congo is being
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Sorry.
It's being used sort of as a proxy war between Rwanda and Uganda.
Yeah.
But in southern. Thanks, Christina. You're on YouTube today as On the Move and listening to the True News in your mobile and the car. Thanks.
Keep your eyes on the road, Hen. Keep your eyes on the road.
So there is a lot of tension along the southern border, and there's incursions by a group called the M23 group.
Yep.
As I say, southern Rwanda is not very safe at the moment. So this will have a bearing. I mean, it's a bad time for the government. The shame of this bloody prison ship coming online, and of course, the Rwanda, what do we call it? We's carry on, fucking whatever you want to call it, in the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, of course, is going to have to look at this situation in Rwanda.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it was always the case that you send people away to another country, there's always a chance that they're going to have a bust up with one of their neighbours. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not saying Rwanda are prone to it, but they have done before. In actual fact, if you watch a wee movie, if you get a chance to watch it, called Hotel Rwanda, and it's based on a true story, it's like you would never send anybody there in the first place.
Akis, you want to hijack the stream for a minute to promote ATCOL, whatever that is. Aye, on you go. Oh, you're going to do it right now.
Yeah.
Stick it in the comments, Akis, or explain it as what it's all about, and maybe we can read it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the prison ship's back, and it's not looking good for Braverman in the Supreme Court, because there's a big flare-up at the moment in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it borders with Rwanda, and there's been incursions into Rwanda, so the Supreme Court's going to have to take that into consideration, David.
If you look at the amount of human rights abuses that are going on right now, right? Started off with the Chinese, and it was the Uyghur people that were being locked up and retrained and all the rest of it, right? Okay, and then you had the abuses that went on as regards the war with Ukraine, yeah,
Yep.
and then you've got the Rwanda thing and Braverman and what they've done. People are becoming now tuned in to human rights abuses, and you can see by the amount of reaction that the Palestine protests have got over the weekend.
We'll get to that.
That's massive, So I'm not intending to get into that because we're going to discuss it later on the show. But I think it's a moot point. Is that people are now becoming a bit more aware of human rights abuses and what they actually mean. Whereas in the past, you would hear about, like people starving in Biafra when I was a kid, right? Pictures of black babies with big fat bellies meant nothing to me. It didn't matter because I didn't understand, right? Whereas nowadays, I see a picture of a wee lad with a busted up hand talking to a camera in Gaza, and it makes me cry.
Of course it does.
So anyway.
But we'll get to that humanitarian crisis at some point shortly and all. Right then, let's move on. The banks are getting jittery, David, over the impact of interest rates. As Bank of England economist, Swati Gray, says only 25% of effects has filtered through to borrowers so far and the economy in general so far. Now, what this Swati Dingray says, she's a bank of she's on the Monetary Policy Committee at the Bank of England. And what she says as well is to expect there to be an additional 250,000 people on the brew by next summer as companies don't invest and as companies go to the wall because interest rates are just too bloody high.
You have to understand, the companies that you're talking about, I mean, you're talking just across the board, right? From the biggest to the smallest. What they do is they go into self-survival mode, right? They're trying not to borrow any money, right? And what they'll do is they'll cut down their staff, they'll cut down their costs as much as they possibly can, so that they ride out whatever it is, so that when it gets better, hopefully it does, they can sort of bring it up again, and maybe make a phone call to wee Jimmy that they got laid off. Jimmy, sorry about that. Can you come back to work? We need you.
Nice.
So,
so a predicted extra 250,000 people unemployed by the summer by the Bank of England.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing it says here is that it will disproportionately affect the poor, disproportionately affect young people because increase in rents and mortgages and things like that. Yeah. And she also, she was also saying that with only 25% of these effects being felt so far, and it takes about a year for interest rates to feed through properly.
Well, I'm not going to give away stuff that I deal with personally, right? But I know for a fact the banks, and most importantly, the people that are called the underwriters, they are getting very jittery because don't forget, we had the situation with the bounce back loans, if you remember that, and that was underwritten by the UK government. However, the real underwriters are the ones that you might go to for a new car. You want a loan for a new car, it's what's called an underwriter, is the person that looks at you to see if you are fit for their purpose and fit to take on that loan. Is it affordable for you and all the rest of it, right? And all the underwriters are getting very jittery and making daft decisions at the moment.
If you want to really know what's going on in the economy, ignore the crap for the Bank of England. Ignore everything. Just go to the Procurement Managers Index.
Yeah.
And you're finding that companies are no buying.
Yeah.
And if they're no buying, they're no producing.
And they're getting rid of their procurement manager.
Aye. The Procurement Managers Index is probably the best guide to what's going on in the economy. And ATI's it's AT Call is a group set up by him and Seska, or Alexis, and they do many tours of Scotland and send photos of where they've been. I'm assuming it's a Facebook group and ATI's or a YouTube channel. And Jenny at Random Scottish History is also involved. I've seen some of the videos she's put out. They've been quite good. Yeah. So this isn't looking good.
No, it's not. And don't forget, you predicted this and I predicted this. But okay, it's taken a while for it to happen. But coming down the line, we're looking at mass unemployment in Scotland. Right. And it's happening right now, right in front, under your nose. And there's all sorts of issues come into it. I mean, at the moment, I can imagine there are umpteen million conversations going on between companies and banks.
There will be. People will be trying to refinance and everything to just try to survive.
Correct.
Well, as I say, the way it's going to affect people, of course, is they're going to lose their houses. What's happening at the moment, what this lassie also said was the reason why people are still surviving at the moment is because they managed to build up a wee bit of reserve during the pandemic, the ones who were
or maybe they borrowed a wee money off a relative or whatever, but that's running out. That's a bit of string that runs out, And what I'd like to know is, if everybody ends up, if everybody that's got a mortgage, right, and I'm just asking you all to think about this. Everybody that's got a mortgage now, and it's not a fixed mortgage, right? If they all end up in trouble and they end up getting punted out of their houses, what happens then?
The banks become renters. The banks become landlords. They're already doing it.
But the thing is, every now and then we see this stupid, horrible program. It's Homes Under the Hammer, and if you actually look at it properly, it's people that have run into problems and their houses get put up for auction.
Aye.
By the bank or whatever, right? Okay, but that's effectively what does happen. You end up with a problem with your mortgage. The bank will give you so long, and then they'll go, no, sorry, but that's it.
Well, Jeremy Hunt, who's about to flee the scene, if reports are correct, he's negotiated a deal with the banks that they don't kick you out for first year. Thanks, Patricia. That's generous of you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that's a year, right?
Right.
And let's say that Wobblygob, Sir Keir Starmer, rides on to number 10. What's he going to do about it?
No, he can't do it. Monetary policy is the Bank of England's concern.
Yeah, nothing he can do about it. Simple as that.
Mr. E, you will own nothing and be happy.
Yes, aye, very good. So anyway, the banks are jittery, and there's nothing we can do about that situation. We can only watch. But
it's just a watching brief and tell people just be careful.
It's that horrible feeling in your stomach when you're an employee in a firm and you're wondering if your job is secure, and these conversations are taking place between the banks and businesses all over the place, and they are jittery.
And it's the other thing she did admit in this was that Brexit played a part.
Oh, aye, yeah, that's that. Well, it's becoming normal for people like that to accept that it's Brexit. If you're a Tory politician, you don't, but everybody else does. Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, is we know that food price inflation stuck at 6.7%, and food price inflation still up over 10%. But it varies per item,
Yeah, it varies per person.
Aye.
The stuff that you buy is different than the stuff I buy, so therefore you suffer a different level of inflation to what I do. Something like that. The inflation figure is made up with what they call a basket of goods that they have for the price inflation on food or whatever, and that's what they put out, and it's a load of bunkum. It really is.
Well, we've got a couple of things, David.
David, honestly, done by Ahuri Henrietta when going to the shops. I don't buy caviar, right? So simple as that. That's not part. So therefore, I don't know what the inflation is in caviar. Yeah, so there you are. Joke.
Aye. Well, still tax is generally how it's done, DJ Marty. But we'll get we'll cover Hunt, and we've always done this one to death. So the economy is not improving; it's still contracting. And as we know, David, we've got the checks supposed to be introduced in January and March next year, which are going to have a whack on the food supply. We've already, you are aware, David, that so we're already having an effect on medical supplies as well.
Yeah.
So we're beginning to see all these things that we were predicting years ago, but where they kept kicking the can down the road, start to come home to roost.
Yeah.
To be pretty blunt and brutal about it, if you're under 30 and you've got a skill, get out. Simple as that.
That's the way. Australia, America, Canada, whatever. Yeah, great places to live, and you'll get a wee bit of sunshine. But that's so sad saying that, because I watched my mother breaking her heart at the front door. My sister heading for Canada, and really was. I became an only child.
We've been here before.
Yeah. So yeah.
We have been here before, David.
Yeah.
The brain drains on.
Yeah. Sad. Really, really sad.
You know, it really is. Right, let's move on. First Minister to visit flood hit areas of North East.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, one person lost their life in these floods. A lot of people's properties have been damaged. And it's a sure sign that global warming is here.
Yeah.
Because Brecon was one of the worst hit places, and they get new flood events 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Scotland is becoming wetter and warmer. But that was predicted. You know. Now,
I'm just gonna see if this will play. I've got a wee clip of Humza. We've had technical difficulties doing this, guys. So we'll just try it this once, all right?
Yeah, the devastation of the storm is unlike anything they've seen. In terms of what the government can do, we're here to support Angus Council, whether that's with funding, of course, in terms of the recovery journey, which will be a long one, or indeed if it's funding in relation to further flood prevention schemes and flood defences, we'll seek to support Angus Council as best we possibly can, because as I say, it will be a long road to recovery for many people.
Yeah, so there you go.
I was listening to the lunchtime news when I was going to get the wife, and the Scottish central government is going to assist Angus Council, but the biggest bit of assistance they can give Angus Council is telling them to open the emergency reserves.
Yeah.
Because councils hold reserves for these purposes.
But they don't let them go under any circumstances unless it's absolutely necessary. Somebody's going to die over it or something like that. With this one, Humza needs to push it hard. Because I remember John Swinney having a blooming rant at Holyrood over Dumfries.
Aye.
Dumfries and Galloway Council. And what he'd done is he'd arranged to give every person that got flooded £1,500, if you remember. Is nobody able just to write a blooming cheque for £1,500 and give it to these people because I'm giving the money to the council, and the council's sitting back and going, well, we haven't seen it in the account yet, you know.
No, and apparently the latest figures of people who lost their lives to flood is now at 4.
Yeah.
But there's just some areas where houses were built which never used to be floodplains are now floodplains.
Well, are there any people still in this country that say they don't believe that what we're seeing is climate change? Because, you know, looking at it, I've got to say, even if you were a bit blooming tongue-in-cheek over it, you're not now.
Aye, yeah, Tory. But no, they're going to have to sit up and take notice. And it might well be that some of the places where these properties sit at the moment are not going to be viable in the future.
Yeah.
You know? So, when it comes to planning, they're going to have to rethink how things are done when it comes to building new estates.
Yeah. Or they're going to have to find some other way of getting the water off the land when we get a flood situation. But that is a huge infrastructure project, and to do that, we have got to be
independent. But on the bright side, these are huge infrastructure programs which need to take place.
Yes.
So that will stimulate our economy here.
I mean, look, a simple thing, right? You've got a river, like in Dumfries, the river that goes right through Dumfries, and there's a section of it that gets flooded all the time, right? The Clyde gets dredged all the time because there's shipping coming up and down it, right? But also it means that the Clyde doesn't flood. There are areas to either side of the Clyde that could flood if it wasn't dredged.
Right.
The same goes with these rivers round about these, Brecon and all the rest of it. They could be dredged. There's no.
You could deepen the Skye. Of course you could.
course you could. You know, so really, that's something that, as an independent country, we could do rather easily, rather than having to build bigger dikes like the Dutch do. We can just dredge our rivers.
Just eating the beds.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a lot of digging there, David.
But
Nobody knows this.
well, the thing is, though, it's like if we're independent, we could afford to have a boat in each of the rivers constantly, every day, out it goes and dredges up another part, and that's it.
Now, at some points, yes, you just never get a boat into it. Come on, but
Okay, fine, I know that.
but there is areas. That doesn't mean that you couldn't get an excavator into it, David.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of the bed of these rivers will be there'll be a lot of bedrock just below the sill, so that can be used to build the walls up as they move along.
That's right.
You know, there is engineering solutions to the problem.
Right.
But of course, planning, they're going to have to be much more careful when planning. What you'll find is where these houses were built were probably perfectly fine to be there 20, 30 years ago when things weren't so wet.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the place where I used to live in England is a place called Yarm, and just across from us we had a big place where there was a Roman manor house or whatever, right? And the place was a bog, most of it, right? And that place used to flood dreadfully, but they put 900 houses on it. And what they did was the foundations for the houses were in the form of boats. The houses actually floated on that, right? But in order to compress it, what they did was they got somebody like Davies out, and the woman set charges and blew all the mud so that it got the water out of it, right? And also what they did was they actually took all the water. There was a local river. They took all the water, pumped it out, and got it into the river. So the place started drying up before they even started building on. We could do the same. Yeah.
David, my villages, they've been floating villages for years. My village is built in a dying bog. The street I live on is called Bogfoot Road.
I haven't seen you floating by me.
It's because it's well drained. But as I say, the Scottish Government are going to help the people who have suffered the effects of these floods.
Yeah.
And it's a bad time when we're coming into winter, David. It's going to be hard to dry these places out.
When we've got an incident like that where 4 people have lost their lives, yeah, one wee man blooming carried away in his car. He's gone. We can't find him. You know, say one. Anyway, right. So, climate change, guys. If you don't believe it's happening, you've just got to dig that wee bit further.
They just have a wee wander up to Brecon.
Aye. Yeah. Yeah, they'll explain it to you.
Right, let's move on. Nandy and Jenrick defend water crimes. That's
right. I actually wrote a blog over this one, and that was on, was it Sunday? Yeah, it was Sunday I wrote.
I was on the weekend. I seen the pair of Muppets on YouTube.
Yeah. What you got to understand is that Jenrick, he really couldn't say very much at all about Israel or whatever, right? Because first off, the Tory party don't want to be tagged with this word anti-Semitic. Also, the Tory party really want to keep a really good relationship with the USA. So they definitely don't want to be saying anything that runs against the United States.
Fortunately, they're starting to take a bit of a harder stance. The United States as the humanitarian disaster. We'll get to that unfolds. But we've also the Starmer spinning like a top on his remarks on LBC. He's trying to say he never said it, so I guess we better find this one, David.
Go for it, David. Go for it.
Hold on, I find a bloody thing because people keep posting junk to me.
Well, mine is working. I'll bang it up for you if you want.
Aye, stick it up, man.
Oh no, this is the original one I've got here. I'll bounce on to yours. See if I can find it. A few seconds here, folks, and we'll just get this for you. There we are.
Because it's dynamite.
There it is.
Right, share it in, David, and I'll put it up. You can do the thing with it.
Yeah. The moment
Right.
I've got it up, so that's fine. That's okay. Window and share. Right. Skip ads. Here we go.
I was saying Israel had the right to self.
I'll take that back because I want to hear it right from the very start, guys. Turn up your volumes. Listen to this.
So let me be clear about what I was saying and what I wasn't saying. I was saying Israel had the right to self-defense. So when I said that right, it was that right to self-defense. I was not saying that Israel had the right to cut off water, food, fuel, or medicines. I think you would.
Okay, now let's just move it along to, I think, 115 was where I put it. Yeah.
No, you turn the volume off, David. Switch out, please.
Cutting off water. So I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing.
Sorry, jump forward on it.
Hamas bears responsibility. A siege is appropriate. Cutting off power, cutting off water. So I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing situation. Obviously, everything should be done within international law, but I don't want to step.
You can't.
We know that Starmer's a human rights lawyer, David.
You can't have a dichotomy like that. You can't have the situation where you say, oh yeah, there's like a perfect right to lay siege to Gaza, cut off food, water, fuel, medicine, all the rest of it, right? Kill people by the thousands, right? But they've got to do it via international law. What a bloody stupid thing to come out with.
But to then go on to deny that that's what he said, the specific question was, so that makes it all right to lay siege to Gaza, cut off electricity and water. So Starmer says, I think Israel has that right.
Yeah.
It took him a few minutes before he realised what the hell he was saying, and caveated it with, it must be done under international law. Now, as far as I'm aware, laying siege to a people and a collective punishment is bloody well illegal.
Yeah, it's like, David, I want you to get me some money. Can you go and rob that bank across the road? But you've got to do it within the law. Yeah.
But to see him spinning like a top on this one and then deny that he actually said it. Folks,
can I suggest every single one of you get a hold of that clip and share it for all it's worth, because seriously, it's up in my timeline. Go get it. It's free to all of you that are on my friends list. If you're not on my friends list, make I don't think I'm up to the top of the friends that I've got. So if you need me to, I'll accept your friendship, and you can go ahead and drag this out, because this guy needs screwing the woodwork on that one. He really does. This is a guy that is he's taken the Labour Party that was a bit socialist, and now it's a right-wing blooming party. It's the other Tory party. And this guy wants his blooming feet screwing the blooming wood over this.
Aye, we know, Chris, but we'll get to that. But we see Nandy struggle with...
Don't call him that rubber gob. Wobbly gob. Wobbly gob.
Think it's our kids, Starmer. But we see Nandy spinning like a top on this one, I know, because of the Labour Party edict that you can't criticise.
Any attack, any verbal attack on the Israeli government due to the rule that was put in place for the Labour Party to get rid of Corbyn and a few of the people round about him is now considered as anti-Semitic, even though the word anti-Semitic is technically it's a racist comment against somebody that's Jewish. It's not a comment against a government. However, the Israeli government have made it that way. That's the trick.
You mean
That's
the Labour Party has made it that way?
Yeah, Labour Party's made it that way, right? And so, therefore, if Nandi had spoken up the way she should have, look, it's a war crime. We need a ceasefire and all the rest of it. Should have been out the Labour Party. David Lammy the other day there. Yeah, I saw him sweating over it.
Not just sweating over it, saying I'm saying nothing because I want to protect my career.
Yeah.
I'm home to be Home Secretary.
That's right. Yeah. So, guys, you got to see when there's hustings coming up to the general election. For goodness sake, remember this. Remember this. And go up and give them a hard time. Anybody that's on the stage arguing for Labour, literally screw their feet to the floor because they deserve it.
Right, let's move on to what it is that's holding the Americans back to take the Israelis' leash off, and that's international pressure in support of the people of Palestine. Now, we had large protests in Glasgow, which was totally ignored by the BBC, and of course the protest in London has started a bit of a stooshy down there today with their anti-protest laws.
Yeah.
Now, Suella Braverman has dragged the head of the Met in to demand to know why people who were allegedly calling out jihadi calls to arms in the London protest were not dragged out the crowd and jailed.
Let me make it clear on this channel. Both David and I condemn utterly the actions of Hamas. End of story, right? However, we also condemn utterly the actions of the Israeli government and the IDF in their siege of Gaza because it's wrong. It's a war crime.
Yep. And that's what these people are no pointing out, the politicians doing that road. And unfortunately for our First Minister, it's something he's having to he's having to tread very carefully around.
Yeah,
as we said in the last programme, him and Stephen Flynn have been actually the only ones who have called it what it is. They've called out Hamas, they've called out Israel, and they're pleading for a ceasefire and humanitarian aid to reach these people. And the reason why Israel's not in or gone ho so far is because the protests around the world have started to put a bit of pressure on Western politicians who condemn what's going on. But as we watched what happened in the United Nations last week, China put forward Russia put forward the resolution.
No, Brazil put forward the resolution.
No, David, there was more than one.
I know, but the main one that was actually read out was the Brazilian resolution for a ceasefire. And when the amendments came through, it get whittled down to a temporary ceasefire.
That's
right?
what happened. That's what happened to the Russian one, and all, except for it was just vetoed out the park by America.
Yeah.
And the Brazilian one was vetoed out the park by the UK and Brazil.
Yeah.
So for all there is
Brazil, but the Brazilian one was vetoed out by themselves.
No, the Russian one, the Brazilian one was vetoed by the UK.
You read it wrong, that was all.
Right. Anyway, so now what did Starmer have to say about this? Starmer, when he was asked about these people who were allegedly shouting jihadi calls and weren't they arrested, he comes out with, shows you there's gaps in that law. We'll need to tighten up that anti-protest law.
That is your thin end of the wedge of fascism. Make no mistake, guys. Starmer, by saying those words, is speaking about fascism. When you're talking about making a police state even more of a police state, you are a fascist.
Aye. But what was really interesting about that, there's holes in the law carry on. What happened to freedom of speech?
Right.
I mean, we've recently had a letter of this new digital bill that's coming through to control digital media. We've recently had a letter by academics, entertainers, Civic UK, Civic Scotland, who all say that this bill that's coming through is a censorship.
Yeah, well, I've even seen like books being altered because they're being censored by the publishers because they're not PC anymore. You know, and that's crazy. That's absolutely. We're talking like classic books, classic children's books. You know, Rudyard Kipling. That's you know. So.
But Braveham about breathing down the head of the Met's neck. Starmer wanting to tighten up the law. It looks like end of protest is on its way down that road.
Well, you know, that being the case, then people need to come out in far greater numbers and join any protest that's going, because if you want to change what's in a politician's head, all it takes is numbers. It's just numbers of people hitting the street, and then the politician goes, "Oh, I want to keep my job." That's it.
Right, talking about politicians not keeping their jobs, let's talk about the two by-elections that happened down that road, and we'll talk about it basically in the same light we did the by-election up here, because when you get right down to it, David, voter apathy was a big problem.
Yes, I mean, we had Tamworth, the turnout was 35.9%, and Mid Bedfordshire was 44%. Tamworth had a Labour majority of 1,316, and Mid Bedfordshire, the Labour won was at 1,191 votes. The interesting one about Mid Bedfordshire obviously was the Lib Dems took a nice big slice of 8,000 and odd votes. But what happened mostly in both of these is that the people that were Tory didn't come out to
That's
vote.
sort of the same thing we had in the by-election in Hamilton Rotherham West,
Yeah.
where people just didn't bother turning out.
Yeah.
And that tells us that they're only seeing it as a temporary position, so they're not worried about who's filling it.
What it says to me is that Labour have built themselves a house of cards. They are busy building themselves a house of cards and telling everybody, "Oh, this is wonderful. This shows what we're going to do." What I can't understand is Professor Pat Penning. What the hell they call him? The guy that predicts all the voting, all the rest of it. John Curtis. He says if this was carried forward to a general election, it means that they would win all this and all this. I actually believe that in a general election, all them people will come out to vote.
Yes, so they are.
You know, the people at SNP at the Rutherglen vote will come out and vote. And it means that Labour are going to end up with that house of cards is going to get blown over.
Well, the polls here in Scotland still show the SNP out in front, but
yeah, well, it's a short-term let they've got.
But
they're not in that for
that's the other thing, David, is a short-term let that Labour's got in these two constituencies. Will the Conservatives come out and vote?
Yes. I'll tell you now, having lived down there, the Conservatives will get pissed off at their own politicians and that they'll get it out of the thing. And the Tories, what the Tories are really, really good at, and nobody can argue with, is they're brilliant at campaigning. They know how to campaign, big style, right? And they can get their people to come out on a general election and support them.
The other thing is we know the Tories are they don't stick to spending limits and things like that. And what we do know is the Tories have built up quite a war chest early years of being in power.
If they haven't got the war chest, somebody blooming stands in and goes, right, okay, I'll give you 15 million to cover it. You know what I mean? So you've got to understand these are people with money, some of them in the Tory party. They're not wee men and women that have got nothing but a state pension, please, you know. So the Tories are great. They really are. They're great at campaigning. And I really wish we were as good at campaigning. I know we've had a few brilliant effects over the years in terms of wins for SNP and all the rest of it, right? But still in all, I wish we were as good as or as into campaigning as the Tories are. Because I've seen Tory campaigns. I've lived down there and I've actually seen what they do, and their campaign is amazing. But at the time, I wasn't politically headed at all. But I can look back on it and remember it.
Well, as I say, they also they took the seats away. As I say, with very little of the population turning out, what we do know is in the general election, between 60 and 70% of the population at least have turned out.
Yeah. I mean, for example, Charles McGregor, he says the Tories don't want to win. They're in grab what you can and run mode. Charles, no, they're not. I know what you mean, and it's an easy thing to actually assume, but no, they're not. See, if the Tories can win this, can grab this off of Starmer, they will do.
Well, if he keeps making the bloody mistakes he's making,
yeah.
I mean, let's face it, he hasn't really offered any real alternative.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Also, there is another way of looking at it. Perhaps both Labour and the Tories really don't want to be taking the next term. They're both trying to get out of it. They go, oh, well, we'll be really good for the country, but, you know. Oh dear. At the moment, looking at the Tories and Labour, and the Labour wins, I don't even think Labour are in hung parliament territory now. I really don't. I think they're that far back. In actual fact, I'm watching for new polls to come out to show where the Tories are compared to Labour. And to be honest with you, I don't honestly think they'll be doing that well.
It's shrunk a wee bit, but I think it's still about 18%, to be honest with you, David. The lead. But there's a long way to go.
But aren't they supposed to be at like 30% ahead to win the election? Yeah.
No, 8 or 10 points would be enough to win it. But there'll not be a big majority, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, but as you say, it's a long way. I really don't see Sunak going that early. And we've still got an open statement to come and potentially a budget.
Yeah.
So, depending on how many sweeties he can throw about.
Well, that was being laughed at this morning with regard to Jeremy Hunt possibly, you know, like disappearing, doing the disappearing act. So the autumn statement could be a bit of a laugh. A bit of a spent squib.
Well, we'll see. Yep. We'll see. They're normally quite good at pulling rabbits out of the hats for the richer voters.
Yeah.
The Tories. So we'll see.
All right, guys, it's that part of the show where we're going to talk about what's been going on with Gaza and all the rest of it, right? And to be honest with you, I'm getting to the point where I'm watching too much of it, and it's, you know, you get that blasé way, you go, you know, another atrocity, and it doesn't hit you the way the first atrocity did. You know, that wee bit I put up on my own timeline, that wee boy with his busted hand, and he was talking to the camera, that got me crying. It did. You know, I'm not ashamed to say. I'm in actual fact, I'm proud that I was still affected by that.
Well, you and I were looking at the amount dead before we come on. This morning's figures was 4,200. Where's the proportionality there?
Do you know, I look at them and there's a name comes in my head when I see these wee women sort of like running, crying over their kids. I go, Mrs. McGlumfer. That's just Mrs. McGlumfer.
It could be anybody.
No, but I'm saying that is Mrs. McGlumfer. That in their country, that's Mrs. McGlumfer that's crying over her wains that have just got crushed under a blown building that's collapsed when it's been bombed. You know, just.
Apparently, Nicola Sturgeon's just passed her driving test. Well done, Nicola.
That's fantastic news, right?
Well, let's get back to the humanitarian crisis that's going on. Now, apparently, Humza, his mother-in-law, has managed to get a call through to tell them that their household at this point in time is sheltering 100 people. They'll get 6 bottles of water left.
You know, you get a sip there. You know, if you're lucky, you might get a sip.
One of these people are one of the people is a 2-month-old child.
Yeah. You know, what do you do?
As we know, there is some aid coming across the Rafah crossing, but it's not enough. And
what was it you said to me? Before all this started, it took 65 trucks a day.
No, 650 a day.
A day. Trucks coming
through the Rafah crossing going into Gaza.
Yeah. So, and now what they're getting now is they got 20. Was it yesterday they got the 20? Supposed to get it Friday.
Aye.
On Saturday it went in, and now they've got 16. You know, so as somebody correctly described it, it's a drop in the ocean.
But as I say, I mean, we're seeing pressures for the people of the Western world, but just not seeing the pressure for the governments. The pressure for the people have thrown the handbrake on to the point where they say you need to act within international law. But as we know, Israel's in a situation where its people wants it to strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Some do. I do believe in Israel that there are Jewish people that are against what the IDF are doing. Yeah, some of those are. Yeah, it's like you get people looking at it and go, that's morally and ethically wrong. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
You're my shoulder, Davy. Your Nick will be after your job. She better get a couple more licenses before she'll get anywhere fucking near it. But no, what's going on in Gaza? We need to keep the pressure on our politicians, folks.
Yeah.
So get right to your MP.
Yeah. It's time for a letter. Simple letter to your MP, pushing the situation of, you know, a ceasefire, a proper ceasefire, and properly get the aid into Gaza, but also, for goodness sake, let's not forget there's people that shouldn't be there in the first place, and getting them out. You know, like Hunter's mother-in-law.
Truck stuff into perspective, David.
Yeah.
Some of their biggest supermarkets get 3 truckloads a day. You'll have one of frozen food, you'll have one of ambient food, and you'll have one of chilled foods.
Yeah. How much fuel, food, and medication do you think a typical hospital takes? Especially in a situation where people are being run to the front end of that woman hospital every minute of the day. You know, you see them on the TV getting carried into a hospital. There comes a point when you get the hospital is that full, you literally cannot, you don't have enough doctors, you don't have enough medication, you don't, all the rest of it, you know. Even, and also down to a simple bottle of water. You know.
You're right, Art Office at the soon it is selling the land, and it will be wanting Tory donors for the HS2. As I say, but the truckers will be needing danger money to drive in there, Charles, but with the guys that have been driving in there for the last 16 years, taking their lives in their hands.
And they are determined. I've seen a few of them getting interviewed on Al Jazeera, and you can see that they really are determined to get in there with the load that they've got. Dreadful.
As I say, I mean, to put that in perspective, our big supermarkets get 3 Oreo loads a day, so there's 21 trucks a week. They get 21. They get 20 altogether.
That's right. Yeah.
And that had been split between water and medicines.
We are with Gaza. We're talking about a strip of land that you could drive from Clydebank to Helensburgh. There you are, Clydebank to Helensburgh. There's about your 30 miles if you take in the whole of Helensburgh and the whole of Clydebank either side. In 5 miles, that's like the Clyde up to, as far as I'm concerned, the start of the old Kilpatrick Hills. Yeah?
As I say, but what's going on, we have to put pressure on the politicians, folks, because it's the only way, especially if you've got a Labour or a Tory politician. There's no many of them here, but if you're watching this in another part of the world or another part of the UK, get on it. It's no hard. Find out the name of your local MP, put his name into the search engine, and his constituency details will come up. Fire up a short email saying, look, where's the proportionality in this?
Yeah.
This is a humanitarian crisis, and it's bordering on genocide, and we know there's war crimes being committed. It's time to speak up against this.
Well, there is no way that, unfortunately, we are part of the United Kingdom right now. There's no way the United Kingdom should be backing up the Israeli government committing war crimes.
No. All the head politicians doing that road back them up.
Yeah, there is such a thing as aiding and abetting. Yeah.
Right.
If a country's committing war crimes and you support them in doing that in any way whatsoever, you're as guilty as they are.
Yep, blood in your hands.
Yeah.
Right, David, we're up there, we're over.
Yeah. I was going to carry on for another half an hour, Davey.
Aye, will you? I'm out of beer and it's a long walk to the fridge. It's nearly 15 steps from where I'm sat in my office.
Sorry, I've got to come out of this blooming cabin. I've got to make my way down them steps.
Aye, you'll be needing a bloody one of the old folks' chairs shortly. You got them to do that thing.
Yeah. Guess what? Anyway, all right. Oh, there we go. Another. Ian, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ian. But folks, we hope you found it interesting. We hope you found our analysis of what's going on informative. If you like what we do, share across your social media platforms. Hit the like on YouTube; it helps the algorithm. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed.
Please.
Know what I want today, David?
Yeah. Please share the Starmer video. Please. Get that out. Get it shared everywhere.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we've got some geezer up here thinks I'm bloody suicidal. Robert, Davey, get the dragon to get our beers. Are you mental, sir? Yeah, somebody with a death wish on the stream, Davey.
I wouldn't even think it. There you go. Because I'm sure that Sarah can read your mind.
And what do you might call it? Thanks to everybody who's made wonderful donations to the fund today.
Looks like what's come through today, I should have enough to get that donation away to Kintyre. If it is, I'll have a look. If it is, then what I'll do is I'll do it straight away. Okay?
Aye. Now, as I say, 3 food banks last week, folks. We're coming up to the end of the month.
Yeah.
And we'll start again when the revenues for YouTube come through. I think it comes through about 27th, 28th, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We'll start distributing more money again. As it comes in, we'll try to get it out as quick as possible. But as we've already said, sometimes it's bloody well difficult.
Yeah. Also, you go and you go, is that XYZ food bank? Yes. I'd like to give you some money, and you can see it straight away. The wheels are turning. They're going, is this a scam? You know.
Aye.
Once they know you, once you've dealt with them once, it becomes easy.
Well, we're building a register of food banks.
I did another donation to Old Kilpatrick, and they do massive amounts of campaigning for families that have found themselves in a shit situation, right? She knew me straight away. She recognised me straight away when I went on. So no bother. So once they know you, it's easy.
That's what I'm saying. We'll put together a register of food banks.
Yeah.
And we'll try and distribute it as widely as possible.
Yeah.
But like the one at White Inch that the viewer told you about, you managed to get some money out today.
Yeah, we managed to do that the day after. That was
Aye.
It was great. It was really good. It's good to be able to do something like that. It's very humbling. Okay, we do donate to it ourselves, but what we're doing is we are directing your fund to food banks, and it really
helps people in our community, and it is really important.
Yeah.
It is. Anyway, thanks for donations. Like, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, like, share. off either my timeline or wherever it is you're getting it from. And we'll see you all again on Thursday, 4 o'clock.
Bye, guys. Bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey.